now from Wisconsin, Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who, I don't know, we got to get this guy out of his shell. Have you seen him before, Jack? Yeah, he never says what he means. He's a winner. Yeah, Senator, good morning. Tell us what.
Morning, guys.
Tell us what you're expecting. By the Wall Street Journal, I read this to Jack earlier today, and that was there's a breeze behind Republicans' back, not a strong wind. Is that how you see it?
Well, if I were a betting man, I guess I'd bet on the fact that Republicans pick up a majority. We've got 3 seats in Montana, West Virginia, and South Dakota that are pretty good, looking pretty good. And then we've got 9 other competitive races. We have to pick up 5 of those. 2 of those are Republican seats. Hold on to those. We only need 3 additional pickups. So right now it's looking good. But the point I want to make is I think America will be pleasantly surprised if Republicans get the majority. They're going to find out that we're not the party you know, that Harry Reid has been a one-man party you know. We're going to be looking for areas of agreement on those issues that Jack was talking about. How do you keep energy prices low, some regulatory reform, and how do we get a tax system more competitive? So I think America will be very pleasantly surprised if we get that majority.
Senator, I want to bring Jack into this, actually, and I'd like to get your thoughts of what Jack had to say. Jack, we were talking about Hillary earlier, and I don't know, I think she is, at least, I know she's running. I don't know whether she gets the nomination, but she's the presumptive nominee. You think we should run a Jeb Bush or a Chris Christie, or do you think we've tried that and we need a Ted Cruz or a Rand Paul?
Well, you're putting words in my mouth.
Well, I'm wondering what you think.
Well, no, I think we have to give a hard look to Rand Paul and to Ted Cruz. I saw Ted Cruz on your show the other morning. I thought he was fabulous. I think I've watched him over the last year. He hasn't done anything wrong, in my view. I think, look, we have had middle-of-the-road type candidates, candidates that Democrats say it's okay to like them. John McCain, Mitt Romney, who would have been a great president if he could have got elected. But the idea of us going to the middle so that we appease New Yorkers. I was on a show on Saturday, and I said, we got to look at Ted Cruz hard. Ronald Reagan was attacked for the same things Ted Cruz is being attacked for, following Carter, and now he's following Obama. He would be following Obama. I like Hillary. I think she's a very valid candidate, the Clintons are very capable people. But I would love to see the Republicans run somebody that they stand for, and they shouldn't try and please New Yorkers. I mean, I was at a Ron, I was at a black tie party on Saturday.
I can imagine the response you got from
I got a Saturday night, I got Jack, what's gone wrong with you? You used to be so sensible. You used to be a sensible Republican. Right. Screw New York. You're going to lose New York. Forget it. Go to the country, this wonderful country, and present your ideas with an optimistic view of a guy like Cruz or Paul, somebody over there that's clear in their views, not somebody who's trying to appease Democrats. Steve Ratner tweeted me the other day, Jack Welch used to be a sensible Republican. What's wrong with him? He mentioned Ted Cruz's name. Right. He's gone around the bend. Right. What's wrong with this guy, Jack? He's getting
around
old.
the bend and off the deep end.
Yeah.
Senator Johnson, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, what we need is somebody who can actually analyze the problem facing this country, both internationally and domestically. Analyze the economy. Understand that what's keeping our economy from moving forward is the fact that we do have regulatory overburden, that our tax system's not competitive, that we're artificially driving up the cost of energy, and that can communicate that clearly. Also, somebody that understands that as you continue to grow government becomes even more incompetent. So we actually do need somebody who's run something, that understands how to run large organizations and has a vision. How do you rein in this government that's totally grown, totally out of control, but also recognize the fact that the more it grows, the more incompetent it's going to become. So somebody who is dedicated to limiting the growth of the federal government, devolving that power back to the states where government is more competent because it's closer to the governed.
Amen. Amen.
But Senator, I guess you don't want to necessarily endorse anyone, right? But what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on what the GOP has done the last few elections? They've done exactly what Jack just described. Let's not We don't want to ruffle any feathers. We want to make sure we can bring. I said, you know, the thing about Senator Cruz, and I said it right to him, I said, the mainstream Republicans really do respect you because you're good at getting rid of the heretics, but they think you need someone who can bring in the converts.
Well, again, what the mistake the Republicans have made over the last few years is we haven't had an agenda. We haven't told the American people what we're for, and it's actually pretty simple. I mean, again, Jack has the main elements. Keep energy prices low. You know, President Obama got elected saying that electricity rates are going to necessarily skyrocket because of his policies. We need to point that out. That's crazy. If you want to manufacture things, you need power. Cheap power is better than expensive power. That understands how the regulatory burden is crushing businesses, and then also understands how crushing our tax burden is and how uncompetitive it is. So, again, this isn't rocket science, what we have to do. If you look at the American economy as the hull of a ship, what's happened is we've had decades of barnacles building up on that hull. The solution's easy. Scrape the barnacles off. Yep. Unfortunately, we have too many people in Washington. They're just adding more barnacles.
So, Senator, you're kind of at least associated with Tea Party mentality. I think that you were recruited to run, and you ended up winning.
I wasn't recruited at all. I just got so disgusted that I figured somebody with some common sense had to join this process.
Are you willing to say that is it possible for the establishment GOP to nominate someone like Cruz or Senator Cruz or Senator Rand Paul? Is it possible that could be the end result?
If they put forth a positive agenda and if they're willing to reach out and figure out what we agree on. You know, that's what my main point. If we get a majority, certainly my approach as chairman of Homeland Security, if we're in the majority, I'm going to reach out the other side and figure out what can we agree on. What kind of regulatory burden is crushing businesses in your state as Democratic senator? Let's find those areas of agreement. What Harry Reid has been doing is just putting a divisive piece of legislation on the floor, no chance of passage, and of course is doing nothing to help our economy move forward. So this is about having a positive agenda, but also being able to properly diagnose what's keeping our economy from growing in a robust fashion. That's how you build a strong middle class. That's how you increase people's wages, get businesses competing for labor. This, again, it's not hard, but you actually need people that understand the private sector. I would like to see somebody who's actually operated a business, because then he understands the burden that government places on those businesses and makes it so difficult for business and the economy to grow.
Well, Jack, you wouldn't be saying this, I guess, if you didn't think it was possible for someone like that to get the nomination, right? You think it is possible?
Look, I think we need a hard look at people with just exactly what Senator Johnson said. A clear vision of how you become more competitive, how you get more people in the game, how you raise everybody's with good jobs, how you get away from this non-competitiveness. All we keep doing is putting burdens. He called it barnacles. I love that metaphor, if you will. I think it's perfect to describe what we're doing here. We're slowing down this great country's engine of growth. And growth is what is the elixir of life.
Joe, here's the main point of the Tea Party. Are you going to grow government, or are you going to grow the private sector? You know, that's why I'm happy to associate myself with the Tea Party movement. Yeah. We're finding out, Americans are finding out, that growing government is not making us particularly more secure, is it? Right. And that's I think, the main point we have to make. Quit growing government.
I'm not on this wasn't a regular news cable network where I was using the Tea Party term as a pejorative. I was not. I've made that case a lot of times. I don't know how it gets conflated with, the very far right. It's small government, low taxes, and individual freedom. But that's not the way the left portrays it.
It's what made this country great.
Right. It's not how
that's what made this country great. We got to return to those founding principles.
Okay. I just see it happening, though. We've had a divided country, and there's going to be talk about a uniter and someone who's ready to compromise. And it's not those guys. That's going to be the problem. The country's going to say, we need someone, centrist. That's going to happen.
I feel that way.
That's what I mean. I know.
I would like to see someone from either
But again,
party
it's finding areas of agreement.
I'm sorry, Senator?
It's finding areas of agreement.
Yes.
You don't have to compromise your principles.
No,
Jack, isn't that how you did negotiations? You didn't argue right away with people. You figure out what is everything we agree on before you figure out the areas of disagreement.
Absolutely.
You find common ground, you build a relationship. That's the approach.
I would like to see somebody
agreement.
who will work with the other side. And you're right. It's not about compromising your beliefs or changing them. It is about finding common areas. And, Senator, that's very well put.
but they're.
I'm glad you agree.
The two parties have totally different opinions on how to go forward. How can you agree with anything the Obama administration is proposing right now?
Right now?
Yeah. So how do you?
No, but I think immigration reform.
Okay.
Forget how they want to do it. I think we need immigration
it some
reform.
other way, though.
We can do it another way. Health care for everybody. I think there's a way of doing that. All these things are not wrong. They're just implemented in a way that has no idea of productivity. Productivity is the key to a country's competitiveness.
I call him Senator Ron John, but that's taken by a surf shop, so I can't call him Ron John. But Senator Johnson, thank you.
What a thoughtful guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
He ran a business. So
When we come back this morning, we'll talk about